How does bulking affect testosterone levels? Well, there are no studies available, so what we're going to have to do here is apply some logic to it. Most of the studies into dieting and testosterone state they're all into calorific deficits, which of course have a negative effect on testosterone levels. Now, testosterone changes or testosterone balance is related to energy availability. That's something to consider with any diet, not just a bulking diet. You want to try and create a balance between your body fat content and your energy. You want to avoid bulking up to the point where you want to be bulking to increase muscle mass and not bulking to increase body fat, because too much body fat is going to have also a negative effect on your testosterone levels. Now, energy balance is determined by calorific surplus, adequate macros, testosterone and training. These are the ingredients that go into a bulk. Your adequate macros, of course, will be determined by your own personal requirements, and we're all different in that respect. Now bulking is good for testosterone, and that's my opinion here, because calorific deficit has a negative effect on testosterone. Being in a slight calorific surplus and adequate calorific intake is going to help balance the testosterone levels. You need enough calories and fat in your diet. Now, the best approach is to be including all macros and all micros in your diet. You want to avoid calorific deficit, and you want to also avoid at the same time any nutrient deficiencies in things like vitamins and minerals. One study into the cutting cycles of guys cutting in preparation for a bodybuilding contest saw decreases to testosterone levels of up to 72%. Now, interestingly enough, that very same study saw testosterone quadrupled during recovery with the same guys, and this was achieved by the guys were consuming a calorific surplus of 1,000 calories per day, including a lot of animal fats, interestingly enough. So, takeaway, no, not that kind of takeaway. Avoid takeaway, it's shit. And most takeaways now, especially if you're in the United States or Great Britain, it's lab grown shit as well. Avoid takeaway. Takeaway from the video. Eat enough calories or be in a slight calorific surplus is the best way for your testosterone levels. If you're bulking and look to increase and especially if you're natural, look to increase your muscle mass gradually, and to avoid gaining any extra body fat, which you want to avoid. Avoid calorific deficit at all costs. Avoid nutrient deficiencies at all costs. Now, if an adequate part of your calorific intake comes from fat, then chances are your testosterone will be balanced. You need fat, you need cholesterol, because cholesterol is the building block of testosterone. But when it comes to bulking, fat is not the optimum source of fuel for energy. That's carbs. When it comes to carbs, always consume clean whole foods. Wholemeal pasta, brown rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes, things like that. Avoid any shit carbs. Now, if your carb intake is determined by your metabolic rate, how many carbs should you consume? That is down to your metabolic rate. I have a very, very fast metabolic rate, so I consume carbs every day. If you're like me and you've got a fast metabolic rate, then you need more carbs. If you have a slow metabolic rate, then you will need a lot less carbs, and it's advisable to lower your carb intake slightly. If you are consuming carbs, it's always the best thing is to go no or low sugar. If you want sweet foods, go for natural sources like fruit or honey or something sensible. Cut sugar out your diet completely is an ideal. Also, you need to consider fat intake. Raising your fat intake, a higher fat intake is going to be beneficial to you. I would recommend, not knowing what your personal requirements are, 100 grams of fat per day. I have calculations that I make for my diet, and I think my fat intake, it comes in at between 85 and 97 grams of fat per day, every day without fail. And that involves eating animal fats. If you're not consuming animal fats, then you are at a severe disadvantage. Sorry, you herbivores are not going to want to hear this, but that's the brutal truth. Now, there are some vegan bodybuilders on YouTube who are running low body fat, and it's not possible to run low body fat over a long-term period of time because it will tank your testosterone levels. I'm not accusing anybody. There is a multitude of comparative studies which show low body fat percentages maintained over time tank testosterone levels. So never ever go below 20% of your total calorific intake in fat. Preferably that should be up to 30 or 35 or even 40% of total calorific intake. In the next video in this series, I will go into exactly how my diet works and how I make the calculations, and I will give insight to anybody looking to lose weight to help you avoid calorific deficit and total energy crash. If you want to optimize your testosterone levels and keep them elevated for longer as you get older in life, subscribe to this channel and follow this series for more.